Recording. Okay, this 1 o'clock. I'll go ahead and get started. This is our January 25th, 2022, new year, new PowerPoint. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, February 15th. Okay. Also, we're going to start having consultants join us on this WebEx. Looking through the list now. I don't know if I have any on right now or not, but we've been inviting them for future webinars that we have. Okay. Class schedule. We don't have anything scheduled at this time as far as Road 1 or MicroStation or anything like that. If you want a class, just contact CADD services to request the training, and we'll do what we can to get you set up. We still have some available online classes. Still have the concept station, intro to MODOT hydrology and hydraulics, MODOT hydrology and hydraulics, Power Geopack, MicroStation fundamentals, Power Geopack Road 1, and we're working on a couple more that'll get put in there, one for OpenRoads Designer and whatnot, all the ORD stuff that we got. So, and again, you can sign up at mo.u for those classes. Today we got a couple people going to talk. We're going to have Kevin's going to give us ORD updates, and then Chris has got something to say after that. So I'm going to pass it over to Kevin if Kevin's ready. If I can find him. Yeah, there you are, Kevin.
I just need to share, Bill, then, or you'll give me the ability to share here?
Nah, you can share.
Okay, share content. Share screen 2. Let me know when you see that, Bill.
I'm seeing it.
Okay. So I just got a brief OpenRoads Designer update, and I'll go ahead and let's go in here. So I'm just going to talk about the district update. We did start that. Our first district that we updated to ORD, and when I say updated to ORD, they can still work in Power Geopack, but we are giving them the ability to start new projects in ORD. And our first district was the Northeast District. We did that on January 11th. The next one after that is going to be Central District in February on the 8th and 9th. The training for our Central District is mainly going to be on the 8th, and then we're going to stick around on the 9th if there's any jobs to be converted up to ORD. After that is Southeast signed up for the March 8th and 9th, and right now that's in Poplar Bluff. We're still kind of talking about that location. It's kind of a small location. We're kind of wondering about if it's a big enough location for COVID, but right now it's set for that. We're going to then go to Northwest, March 22nd and 23rd. Kansas City will be April 5th and 6th. Southwest decided that they're going to do it over 3 days because of their conference room capacity is not as big, and with the number of people, we felt it being 3 days of training. And when I say 3 days of training, it'll be, the first day will be for the road people, for half of the road people. The second day, the Wednesday, will be for the second half of the road people, and then that third day, that Thursday, will be for the survey people. So they thought it'd be better to split the group up that way for their training. And then last is St. Louis on May 3rd and 4th, and again, it more than likely be multiple days for St. Louis as well, because they've got a pretty big crew, and they have a little bit of a limitation on the conference room. So we also have to update the bridge office, but we'll probably fit them in between one of these dates that we have listed here, or it might be right after the St. Louis update. So, but those are the dates, and it is dependent upon, we're planning on in-person training, but if COVID stops us from doing the in-person training within your district, CADD will train the entire district virtually via Microsoft Teams on one of the dates that's scheduled for your district. So we kind of had to do that with Northeast. We found out, I think it was the Thursday or Friday before January 11th, that it just wasn't going to work. COVID was kind of going in the wrong direction. And so we told the staff up there that we'll go ahead and train everybody on that Tuesday. And so we actually, Chris actually pushed the code out to everyone's computer. We had installed it, and they were able to use their computer, whether it's a new laptop or an old desktop, for the training. So just be aware of that the training will happen, whether it's in person or virtually, on one of those dates in your district. As far as the training goes, what we train on that, it's really just one day of training. And so we've got a kind of a ProjectWise update, kind of talk about the ORD data source. And if you don't know what a data source is, it's just a location in ProjectWise where you can store stuff. And we've got three data sources, and you may not be able to see these data sources, but I took a screen capture. We've got a development data source that we use here in CADD. The MoDOT electronic plans is the SS10, the one that you currently use for SS10 plan production. And then when we get you closer to the training date, Chris will allow access for you to actually be able to see the MoDOT ORD data source. So we'll talk about the data source. And within that ORD data source, there's something called a work area folder structure. It's basically the project folder structure. We'll talk about that. It's kind of changed between SS10 and ORD, and we've kind of talked about that in these meetings before, but we go over that in the training. Then we get into the MicroStation side of things. We talk about the new interface, where the tools are at, how to find the tools. We talk about name boundaries, which is basically the new way of creating sheets. We get into something called sheet indexing, which goes along with creating of sheets. You can create groups of sheets. That the sheet index also helps with the kind of the layout or the numbering of sheets, and we go over that. And then we talk about printing, because printing has changed between Power Geopack and ORD. And that's mostly in the morning. And then later in the morning, we start talking about the OpenRoads civil tools, and we talk about civil geometry and all the kind of the new tools in civil geometry. We talk about name boundaries in the civil sheets. For example, the cross-section sheets, the plan sheets, and the plan and profile. And the reason we talk about name boundaries a lot is because that is really the biggest change between Power Geopack and ORD is sheet creation. Because if you're still using SS10, that those tools have been around a long time, and they never were updated to OpenRoads Designer. So it's really old tools, and they got a new way of creating sheets in OpenRoads Designer. Now, if there's surveyors in our session, somewhere halfway through the civil geometry update, they're going to break out into their own session. And in there, Jim Copeland's going to kind of show them the ORD survey. It's very similar to the Power Geopack survey, but he's going to walk them through it. He's also going to talk about annotation. Annotation's different. In Power Geopack, pretty much everything gets annotated, but in ORD, only certain feature definitions get survey feature definitions get annotated, and the rest are what they use, something called a decoration. It's kind of a temporary graphic for the text. After that, he's going to talk about civil geometry again with them. There's certain tools that never were upgraded. They were in the old COGO tool, and they were never updated to the civil geometry tools. And for example, one of those is the scale, rotate, and translate. If you want to do that, you got to go back to the old COGO tools. But in ORD, they actually did upgrade that into a civil geometry tool, and they call it transform elements now. So Jim will be going over tools like that in his civil geometry session. We also made a playlist of the training we did up in Northeast. And if you want to see that before we come to your district, we have a playlist out there. It's located right there. And I will send a link out in the chat as part of this meeting. But if you want to kind of preview what some of the training that we're going to be giving you in your district, you could go out to this playlist, and all the sections are listed right there in order, and kind of the topic about what the topic is of that video. Again, the training is going to be, we're planning on the training being one day. It'll be hands-on, where we actually give you a data set to work with, and you'll actually work through the tools as we go through it on the presentation. That's all I got, Bill.
Thanks, Kevin. Go ahead and make myself presenter again. And I'll share my screen. Okay, we'll come back to Chris. He was having issues, so we'll come back to that. So this month's presenter happens to be me. I get to do a presentation, and what I'm going to show is it's an OpenRoads Designer tool, and we've been talking about name boundaries like crazy because this is, like Kevin said, a new way of doing any kind of plan sheets and cross sections and earthwork. And so I got a little deal here that I'm going to show. So let me go to MicroStage, see if I can find it. Passed it up. Okay, so what I've done is there's basically about 10 steps to get you what you want. I've created a brand new file, brand new ORD file, and I set up my my GCS. It's already been defined. You can tell down here in the bottom right. So that's the only steps that I've already done for us is create the file and add the GCS. The next step is to go ahead and reference in the geometry that we want to see. And when we're talking about doing end area volumes, there's a couple different ways of doing it. You can do it for one corridor, or you could do it for multiple corridors. In this example, I'm going to do is just for one corridor or one route. I wanted to do Route 54. So when you're wanting to do one route, you have to do it this particular way. You can't include the other routes, and I'll just show you how you do it. So reference dialog, do a tools attach, and I do most everything from this OpenRoads modeling workflow up here in the top left. I mostly stay in there, and we've talked about workflows before, and you're going to see a lot of that when we come out and train. But so what I want to do is just attach the files that it's going to take to get this end area volumes. And I'm working in this data 10 area. So what I want to do when you're wanting to do one corridor or one route is you're wanting to bring across just that data. So I'll go ahead and bring across my civil geometry, the corridors of Route 54, and I want to bring in my terrain. That's all I really need to do my end area volume. Super elevation was used to create the super elevation in the corridors for Route 54, so I don't need it to be in this file. I just want anything I want to see in my name boundary file to come across. So I'm going to add those in. Hit OK. Let me mute somebody here. There we go. And I'm going to hit OK on this. Okay. And then I'm going to come to this dialog here. And when we do cross sections, normally our name boundaries, and then we do cross sections inside of them, we want to most of the time use the live nesting. But in this case, we just want it for that Route 54 and nothing else brought in. So we're going to use no nesting and just bring each one of these files in that we assign, that we grabbed. 1, 2, and then 3. So I'll do a fit view and I'm done with my reference. So this is my geometry. You can see I got my Route 54 out here. It's at a what used to be called a design stage of finished. Now it's a feature definition of finished, and our final. I'm sorry, final. And the next thing that we want to do is activate our terrain, because anything that you want to see in your name boundaries or your cross sections, you want to make sure you get that existing ground. After you've referenced everything in individually at a nested depth of 0, we're going to open up our 2D and 3D models, which can be done by hitting the F6 key like normal, or you can right click, hold, and do a view control and do it this way as well. Use plan and 3D. Either way will give you the 2 windows that you want to see. You'll have to have these for your name boundaries. If you don't have these 2 windows open, it will not advance the tool. Okay. So now we're ready to place the name boundaries. So now where I need to go is over to the drawing production tab. I'm at the home tab now, but I'll slide across the drawing production and I'll select it. Off on the right side, you'll see there's a name boundaries area. I'll hit that little pull down and then pick my place name boundary tool. When it comes up, you've got a couple different options in here. One that we'll go over in training is we'll go over that civil plan, and that's how we create our plan sheets. And we'll talk about the civil profile as well when we go through our training. But the other one that we're going to touch is this civil cross section. We have to place these to get end area volumes to work. So this is the icon we want, and then we'll pick our drawing seed. And for this one, I'm just going to use a 10 scale. Okay. Once you pick it, it gives us our detail scale, so we're good there. And then the next thing that it's needing us to do is actually pick the alignment, and it tells us down here to identify the path. So our status bar is still important. Go out and pick my Route 54. And then I want to tell it where I want to place these named boundaries. And I'll just start it at 615 just to do a couple of them here. I'll do 615 and lock that value in. Okay. So I've got the start location going. My left and right offsets are defaulted to that 10 scale. So I've got 140 on each side again. And then I have a interval set up as 50. We can change that to 100 or 50, whatever you need to do on this. I'll just make it 100 for this example. Lock that in. Once you get to that point, we can come out on our screen and accept or reject our start location, our path, and then you can see it's going to start building these name boundaries across my cursor here. And I'll just go up to maybe a little past 625 and go ahead and accept that right in that area here and place my name boundaries. And then one more click will actually place them, and you'll see it in the background place in this area here as well. So what it does is it places these pattern lines out here in your 2D view representing your name boundary. And over in your 3D view, it gives you these shapes. Now the shapes, when you first place them, you can see there's no transparency set to them. Well, there really is, it just hasn't been turned on. So what we want to do is come over to our view 2, hit our view preferences pull down, and then turn on our transparency. And then that way you can see through the name boundaries and gives you a little bit more of your project. And if you're okay with it being white, that's fine too. Okay, so once we've got our name boundaries placed out here, we advance on to the next part of the tool, which is creating the drawing and sheet models. To do that, again, we're going to be in that drawing production tab. We're going to come off to the name boundary area, and there's this little guy here, this name boundaries icon, this little manage name boundary tool. We're going to select it, and it's going to open up the name boundary manager. In here, nothing's highlighted at the top except for these two buttons. This one's the most important button in the whole dialog. This gets us to the next dialog that will actually let us define some settings that need to be set up. So I'm going to toggle that on. And then I'm going to come down to the cross sections, because you can see the different groups that you can, name boundary groups that you can create. You can create a plan group, a profile group, and a cross section group. I'm going to open up my cross section group, and I see there's a Route 54. And I can open up again, and it shows me all the different cross section groups that are cross section models that I've created or can create. These are the name boundaries that are out in our design file. To process them, what you want to do is select your route that you're working on, and then these icons become available. If you don't like them, you can delete them. But more importantly, you're wanting to create the cross sections from this dialog. So create cross section drawing icon would be the way to go. But again, you want to make sure this dialog's checked on. Or you can right click and do the same thing, create cross section drawing. Either way, just make sure that one icon's selected, and you'll see it if it happens to you. So we'll create cross section drawing. It's going to come out. It's going to have us some more information to fill in. At the very top, you could actually export these into individual DGN files. We won't do it for our cross sections, but we will for our plan sheets and profile sheets. We'll use that option later. Okay, so then you'll see that in training when we come out and show you that stuff. The next thing is you could change your view names. You really don't want to change any of this stuff because it comes defaulted with your stationing, and that's a really easy way to look through your view commands to see where you're going, which sheet you're wanting to go to, or which drawing model you want to get to, or which file name that you're creating. You want to leave that pretty much the way it is. That's on the view name. Now down here in the model name, you can change that as well. But again, if you change the model name, down here, we've got a model tool where we can go look at our different models, or we have the MicroStation model tool to view them. If you change the name, it's going to be reflected in those options, and you want to be able to see that station range where you're at, or the stationing. The scale should come across as it did. The next thing will be the annotation group. How do we want to see our annotation group? Well, we're doing cross sections, so we'll hit our pull down. It goes to cross sections. I've got drawing. Under drawing, there's 4 different options. When you're doing cross sections for end area volumes, really what you want to do is kind of probably have no grid at all and just annotate our elevations, offset, and our slopes. So I'm going to pick this excess innovation without grid, and that's going to populate all my drawing models with that option, no grid. Later on, we're going to come back and do the EAV annotation, and I'll show you that. Okay, so I'm going to pick this annotation group. Do I want to create the sheet models? I do. Everything else looks pretty good. The scale comes across. Our detail scale came across. Everything looks great. We'll talk about sheet indexing later when we come out to class and talk about that. And then we'll open up the last model that it creates. And in this case, it'll be a sheet model. So all I have to do is hit the OK button. And it's going to process. And down on the bottom, you can see in the bottom right that it's going through. And what it's doing right now is creating a drawing model and a sheet model. Now, these sheet models can contain anywhere from 1 to probably 4 different cross-section drawings, okay, drawing models. And it's done here. I'm going to go ahead and close this. So you can see in this sheet model, it contains 2 different drawing models. If I come over to my view command tool and hit my pull down, which actually flips it up, you can see we have different types of models in here. We have these gray ones, which are drawing models, which are where the cross sections are located. Then we have the sheet ones, which are these white pieces of paper that has the 2 different cross sections going into the one, or the 2 different drawing models going into the one. Okay, so if I wanted to open up a drawing model, I would simply come out and pick a drawing model. There I am. I have my drawing model. I can see everything's been annotated. Now, another cool thing about our cross sections in OpenRoads Designer is that it's dynamic. So if we went out and we changed our profile, move stuff, all this would move. If we change the template in our corridor, it would reflect what we have. Everything's dynamic in that aspect, except for the labeling. The labeling, you would have to remove the labeling and reapply the labeling. And it's not very difficult to do, but it's a big step. Cross sections are cut. They represent what you have out there, and they're dynamic. So it's pretty cool. Let me go back to sheet model for a second here. I'll just go to this one. This sheet model later on, we'll talk about when we come out to class, how the title block all gets filled out by using that sheet indexing. And hopefully we'll get that working really well soon as also. Okay, so now that we've got this all figured out, what we need to do to get end area volumes is we need to go out and run a couple reports. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the screen that I need to be at, which is that multi-model screen. And I can do that from this view command tool down here at the bottom. I can go up to this multi-model views. I select it, and it brings me back to the view where I was at the start of the whole thing that created the cross sections. You can't get that from the MicroStation tool, but you can get it from down here at multi-models. Okay, so now that we've got that, and we're in drawing production, what we have to do is go out, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, is we're going to go back to our home tab, and we're going to create our cut and fill volumes. Okay, and that's the next step in this. So I'm going to go all the way out to my civil analysis tools, hit that pull down. Okay, so I'm at the home tab, civil analysis. Then I'm going to come down and I'm going to hit this create cut and fill volumes. When you do this, it brings up another dialog that's already predefined for us. It's got our feature definitions already set up. So I'm going to go ahead and accept through those, our cut, our fill. Now, if we wanted to calculate some or compute some unsuitables and custom and substrata, that'll be more advanced. We'll talk about that later. But I'm going to hit no on these. And the data point to accept it. And then it's going to process. And what it's doing is creating a mesh representing all the proposed information that we have out there from our corridors that we've got. So if we had 2 corridors in here, it would calculate which we do in some instances, but right now we didn't bring it across. We brought across that Route 54, which is going to show us all the cut and all the fill that we have up to that ramp 4, because I didn't bring in ramp 4. If you wanted to bring in the ramp 4 and calculated it, you could do that. But now that we've got our mesh out here that represents it, there's a couple things with the mesh that you could do. You could actually select it. You get a heads-up display. Of course, that's kind of difficult sometimes. And get to your properties dialog. Properties, a little icon there. It'll give us some information here. It'll tell us our top sloped area, our planar area, and our volume, cubic feet there. And the same with the other shape. So you got your cut in blue, and your red is your fill. Sure enough, I'm going to find that dialog, that little button, and you get the same information in there. Okay, so we got that. So that's just something you can get off the properties. The next thing that we want to do is I want to look at this this name boundary shape. I've got a shape out here, and if I select it and I go over to the properties and look at it, and I open up name boundaries and open up this, I can click this. I come down here and I'm looking for this end area volume option, this XML fragment. Right now it's empty, and we need to populate that, or else we cannot calculate cross sections. We can't place information in our cross sections in our drawing models. So the next step of this is to go out and apply that report or create a report to get that information on there. So I'm still at my home tab, and I'll go to my civil analysis tool, and I'll hit that pull down again, go down just a little bit further and do an end area volume report. Okay, select this. It's going to ask me which group would I like to calculate this on. I only have one for this one, so the Route 54, I'll accept it. And then it asks me, do I want to remove some? So if there was a bridge area in here, or area that you didn't want to calculate, you would just simply hover over it. It would highlight and left click, and it would remove it. It wouldn't delete it from the screen or anything, but it would remove it from the calculation. I like everything in here that I want, so I'm going to go ahead and right click and reset to complete. And it's going to produce your report. It's going to populate it. One thing I want to look at is my tool, my format options. I want to make sure I've got my correct stationing, which is English, and I want to make sure I have convert cubic yards checked on for my earthwork. Once I do have this set up, then I can hit close, and everything else will represent it. Now, it doesn't matter which report that you look at to get your quantities. That's fine. You just needed to run it. So I'm going to I'll just close out of this for right now and go back to that name boundary and look at it after we've run that report and get my properties going again of it. If I come back out, you can see boundaries. Let me select one, and you come down here to end area volume XML fragment, and you can see it's got some information in there. So it's pull that information off the report. Now we can go back into our drawing model and populate that information. Okay, so now we have it, we'll go to a drawing model. Let's pick this 615. This looks like a drawing model here. I'll go ahead and select it. And what it's going to do is we're going to populate this corner up in the right corner here, the information for our end area volume. To do that, we'll go from the Home tab, we'll go back out to Drawing Production. Now, if you've managed to put grid in here, and you want to remove it later, or any of this labeling that you've put in here, it's so easy to get rid of and reproduce. The way you do it is, it's this drawing annotation, okay, this drawing model annotation. You can remove drawing model annotation. I'll show you how it works just by coming out. Now it's going to ask us, do we want to do it all, or do we just want to do it for the one? I just want to do it for this one just to show you. If you do them all, it takes a couple seconds more, but I'll do just this one. And it removes all your annotation. Okay, so that's gone. Now, if I want to place annotation, I would go back to this annotate drawing model, open up this tool, and then I tell it what annotation I want by hitting the little dots over here. And in this case, I want to put it back to where I have just no grid, without grid. And then do I want to do it for all models? I really don't want to. I've got them on the other one. So I'll hit the up down arrows to toggle that to no, and just left click and then accept that without grid annotation group, and it places it back in there. but we're really interested in placing that end area volume information. We can do that as well by using that same tool, this one right here, this annotate drawing model. Select it, come out, pick the type of annotation group we want to place, which in this case would be that EAV annotation. I'll select it. Now, this time it's asking me, do I want to do it all? And I said no last time, but I really want to do it for all of them. So I'm going to hit the up or down arrow, get it to yes, accept that value, and then go ahead and accept that annotation group. When I do, it's going to process all the drawing models. I'm going to hit F4 to get out of the tool. I'm done with it. And then I'll zoom in here and look at it. And you can see, and this is the first section, so we don't see a whole lot going on here. But if I go to, let's go to one down here, maybe 621. If I come out to 621, I look, this is where we got a little bit of, it's coming into ramp 4, but this is still just all corridor route 54. You can see we've got some cut area or square footage. We got our fill area, square footage for that, and we have our cubic yards. So that's the way that you can go out and place these this end area volume information in each one of these drawing models. And if we go out and we look at, I was at 621, so I'll go to the sheet and look at it. You can see the sheets reflect what we have in our drawing models. And we'll talk a lot more about that when we come out and do our training. And we'll show you more examples when we do our plan sheets. But you can see the information is in those sheets. And again, it's all dynamic. Now this ain't dynamic. The labeling is not dynamic. So if you did something, you have to go back, run another report, and then do another processing into labels. Okay. Let me see. I think that's about all I've got on this part of it. We'll go into more detail. And we got lots of videos out there that we've been working with. So YouTube has some things out there. Trying to think of anything else. Back to this. Chris, are you ready, you think?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, you ready? Okay,
yeah.
Let me go find my participants and I'll share the screen with you or give it to you. You are. And you should be able to present now.
Okay.
I see it.
You see it? All right.
I see my CADD advisory group. There you go.
All right. I just kind of want to give everybody an update of what's going to be changing in the next couple weeks in regards to the contract plans location. There's been some changes in the TMS database that the naming convention of the job numbers has changed a little bit. Let me just sign in. I had to reboot because I had some issues. So with this change in the TMS database, the contract plans kind of folder structure will change a little bit. Instead of the contract plans saying Northwest, Northeast, and Kansas City, and so on, there'll be a 2-letter abbreviation instead. And to kind of show you how that will look like, I'll log into the ORD because I already have this working in the ORD environment. So you can kind of see it's nothing really major. As you can see, it looks just like that. So, and the reason being is that the environment that we have in the electronic plans is using another database, another table that's being used. And let me kind of show you. Just need to get in a file. So the attributes right now, I can use these particular district names to actually kind of filter out the job numbers, and it's called a STIP database. In the new database that they're using, there are different type of abbreviations or different types. There's a Kansas City urban as well as Kansas City rural. So that means that there's 2 options, and by doing so, you would have to choose which one that you want in order to give you the proper job numbers. And so by using a 2-letter abbreviation, I can get both of those with one selection. So that's how I'm going to set that up. So the other reason being is that, like I said, the job number is changing now. It's going to be the 2-letter abbreviation by 4 digits. Some of you may have already seen that. There are some in our current location or current attributes. Let me see, sometimes they're at the bottom. As you can see, like in Northeast, you can see how there's the NE and then there's the 4 digits in their chronological order. And that's the new format that the planning department is going to be using. Also, by making this change, when you create the renditions right now in the electronic plans, you can see it's the only option you have is basically these two and the test one that I do testing in there. But in the change, when I make the change to the 2-letter abbreviations for the districts, it's going to be just a little bit different. And let me get into file so you can see it. So the attributes kind of work with this particular thing. And so like just choose Northwest and it still works the same way. You still have that. As you can see, they have a lot of new projects with the new naming convention. But when you select the create renditions to create your PDS for the contract plans, we'll have 2 options. One option will be the existing ones where we have a job number that does not have the J, and then we'll have a new one that just has the 2-letter abbreviation for that region and then the job number. So if you choose either one of those, what will happen is that you'll see the destination will actually change, and that's how it'll be used. So still goes same location, except just it's a different way that the J is actually removed from a script that doesn't add that to the job number in the job numbers that actually have a J in the front. So that will be happening probably within the next couple of weeks. I plan to probably do it at night, so nobody will see it until the next day. So if there's any other questions, that's kind of all I have on that, Bill.
Thanks, Chris. Back to sharing my screen.
Oh, you took it away.
Yeah, I did.
You're fast at taking it away.
I got it figured out finally after so many years of doing it. This is our 5th year, man, of doing this stuff. But anyway, next month's presenter will be Shannon Smith. He's going to be putting on some kind of demo. Shannon, do you have any idea what you're going to show? Or
Nope.
No. You're going to give me that Randall answer? I got nothing.
I got nothing.
He was really fast for that answer too.
Yeah, he was. He wrote it down.
Yeah.
Not doing it. Not doing it.
Our video will be out there on the blog tomorrow. As soon as my video comes back, I'll go ahead and put it out there. So if you got people in your district didn't get to see the video or see this webinar or whatever, you could share it with them on the GeoPack blog. It'll be out there. And if you have any questions, you know who to contact. These are the people, the contacts. Is there any questions over anything that's coming up, or you guys got anything? This is your time, man. Whatever you got, we'll talk about. Somebody, get me anybody.
Howdy, Bill.
Mike, how you doing?
We can always count on Mike. We can always count.
Yes, we can.
Quick
think we
question.
pay him.
Wow, I'll expect the check in the mail. On the cross sections, is that going to be similar to like on the old SS10 where we can have let my mouth catch up with my brain? Custom, or we can do like multiple, or if we have breaks, like if we're like bridge ends and whatnot, we can do.
Yes, you'll be able to add cardinal points as well. I didn't talk about that toggle, and you can add as many name boundaries as you want. You could put single ones out there. You could do about anything that you really want to do on those. The only thing you can't do with them that I learned was shift them. So I got a video showing how you can, if you need to take 100 off the left side and add it to the right side, you could do that, and you'll create a different group, or it'd be in the same group. It'd just be a different set of name boundaries. And
I see.
there's a lot more to it. When they first gave it to us, that aspect was way off. We couldn't shift a sheet, and when you talk dynamic's cool, but the boundaries weren't dynamic. So you'd move them and the annotation came in the same spot. But there's a way around it, and I'll talk about that too later in that. But yeah, it's you could put as many as you need out there and run as many as you want.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's dynamic. You move your profile, like I said, you change your corridor, all that stuff comes across in those drawing models, and you see it. You just have to remove the annotation, which doesn't take too long, and then repopulate it. Probably said way too much in your question, Mike. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Jeff, Central District.
Jeff, how you doing?
All right. A question about the ProjectWise changeover.
That you, Chris?
I know it's
The
me.
the naming convention, is that just a file name change, or are job numbers going to change as well with that?
Well, the project number, it used to be there was a J number. Well, now they've gone
Right.
to that region and then 4 digits.
Okay, so
That's TMS that's dictating that.
so if we when we convert our projects, or if we want to, is that going to be assigned a new job number? Our current job is
You
just
mean
going to be assigned.
in ORD or?
Yeah, if we have a job already started, we want to go ahead and just change it over to ORD, will we have to change, or is that going to basically necessitate a job number change?
No,
Okay.
because as long as the job is defined in the attributes, because I'm pulling that from the table. That's why,
Okay.
Bill, can you let me share my screen again? Thank you.
You are welcome.
So, so this is in the ORD environment. So underneath the renditions, we'll have the 2 options.
Okay.
There are going to be some transfer of projects that aren't new, but that are being transferred over. So they will still have that J number, in which I'll put just a J in front of the the 1P whatever. But then they would have to just choose it. So so either way, however you want to do it, if it's being changed to a new job number, then that's fine as well. So
Okay, I wasn't clear on that, so
okay, that's good.
okay.
But
All
as
right.
you can see, like when you choose like the Northwest, the new naming convention, the contract plans location will change accordingly because it knows that you have that new project number that they've assigned. But
Okay.
good question.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Jeff. Anybody else? Speak now. Okay. Well, I guess I'll be the end of this month's meeting and look forward to next month, where Shannon will give us a show on Tuesday, February 15th
Of nothing, right?
of 2022. Yeah, we better say it.
Yeah.
Have a loud leave that day. I'm not sure what that's about. I'll get back with you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bill.
I'm ending it all.